Hello.
Hello, camera Mandy.
How's
How
it
are you?
going? I'm great. I'm exhausted. Look how puffy my eyes are.
Listen, I can't see your puffy eyes. I can't even see the screen.
Why?
Well, I was okay, Miss Goo. I'll tell you the truth. I have a hangover, camera Mandy.
I knew you were drunk when you called me last night. I had a feeling. I had a
Miss Goo and I,
feeling.
we went out. We went out to a wonderful, not inexpensive restaurant. So, if you're
Mm.
going to go to this place here in Maui ever, just be prepared for a bit of a bill, right? But
What is the place called?
it's called
Oh,
the banyan tree,
the
and
banyan tree. Okay.
it is at the Ritz Carlton,
Mm.
which tells you already it's going to be a little pricey, right? As soon as you know that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we met the chef, and it was really marvelous. It was a wonderful time. I did a little bit pull a Mandy, so I got a little
You
headache.
did not pull a Mandy. That it shouldn't be a thing. I do
Yeah,
not
it's
drink that much. Anyway, well, I'm glad that you've been having a good
here.
trip.
Hold on, cameraman. So I,
What?
I mentioned before. We're staying in the place called the Napilikai Beach Club, which is beach resort, excuse me, which is where Diane, Ms. Goo, and I honeymooned when we were
Mm-hmm.
in our early 20s. So that's
Uh-huh.
40 years ago, yes. But look at the view out of our little window here. This is, I would sit outside, but it's so dang.
What?
Isn't that something right there? Can you see it? Is it
I
well?
mean, I
Am I
think
doing
that's where
good?
you did Goo Morning from the other day or the last time.
I did, but I was really worried. I talked very quietly and I was very worried about waking up people. But that is absolutely where I did it from right there. But that's quite a view, huh?
That is quite a
Um,
view. That is
so,
beautiful.
but in the context of the marvelous world of Zyathé, we are in the Blue Shine Archipelago. Yes, Ms.
Yes,
Goo
and
and
I
I.
have
Yes.
I have a few posts to show
Oh,
or
but
a
we
few
also have we
things.
also have some cool things happening today. Yes, because Todd's going to be on the show with us. Yes.
Yes, Todd's coming on, or he is on. He's in the background. We'll do this really
Hi, Todd in the
quickly.
background.
Hi, Todd. Yeah, he's waving. So, yeah, we have a great show with Todd. We're going to walk through an amazing build that he did, like probably one of the best that I've seen from Todd, which is saying something because Todd's stuff is incredible. Hold on, I gotta share this. But first, we're gonna just very quickly go through your puzzle. Also, I have no idea what you're doing because, like, I have not been following
That's
along
okay.
since.
What we'll do is we'll reprise it all for everyone because what I figured
Okay.
out is there's no way trying to put this up in the Discord. People miss it and stuff like that, and then so we'll reprise it all and we'll put it into an email in one of our emails and we'll send it out to everybody. Then they can hopefully figure out all the clues. They'll have them all in one thing, and
Mhm.
there'll be questions that'll come from each one of the little because we still got another week or so. We're going to be posting these week and a half. So but there's also something wonderful that came out of this, which yes, the
What was
secret.
one? What was wonderful that came out of this?
Oh, so I think in the blue shines, because I'm gonna have a chance in the future to, if all works out well, marvelous geeky hoodie and I are going to collaborate on a little adventure called the Isle of Unduulu,
Hmm.
and I really want to have these little creatures called the hooligans in the blue shines. So sort of impish, tiny little creatures that green. Anyway, you have a picture of them. Yes, right there, little hooligans. So
I see.
I'm gonna have Benjo. I'm gonna have Benjo
So
or
we have a new creature or a new
I
race or
think
a
so.
new.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I'm gonna have
Yeah,
Benjo or we're going to, we got to concept them up a little bit and all that stuff. This is
they're like the Fey Muddles, but tropic,
yeah,
tropic Fey
well,
Muddles.
yeah, but yeah, something I don't know. Think about it. Yeah, yeah, no, and somehow damn Nessie showed up around here. So we
Uh-huh. She just keeps following you around.
and the
Crazy,
and the
crazy race.
comment that I'll go back to that one real quick. So the comment on that one was that Ms. Goo is rolling her eyes behind her sunglasses, which is
She is.
probably true.
She absolutely is. I was told explicitly that she did not want to do pictures on this vacation with mythical creatures, but
Yeah, well, I got one yesterday that she's wearing this hat, that's this steampunk hat that I'm going to post up because I think it's pretty fun.
ah,
And I
I
got
think it's adorable
what
that she supports your ambitions the way that she does.
I
She
got
doesn't
her
get
to
it.
do it.
To be clear, she doesn't get
She
it. She doesn't
doesn't.
understand it, but she supports you, and I think it's very sweet.
Yes,
So,
yes.
okay.
Fantasy is not her genre. She reads like action novels. Like
Uh-huh.
and she does Jason Bourne and stuff like that. I was worried, and remember, she's a brown belt in Taekwondo. People don't even know that she is a brown belt in Taekwondo. So,
I'm married to a black belt in Taekwondo.
oh,
Adam. Yes. I did not discover this until like 3 years into our marriage that he had a black belt. It was very interesting. Anyway,
wow.
all this to say, you said that people could learn about the secret symbol of the dark cult abiding in the
So yes,
moonshine.
so first of all, there's a secret word, right? There's the in the sign. They have a sign that they make with their hands, right? Which is the Ha'ang Lu'uz, right? Ha'ang Lu'uz. Yeah, something like that. This is what we learned. And
okay,
yes,
that's funny.
Ha'ang Lu'uz. I think it's something
Mhm.
like that. But
Mhm.
now we have discovered, thanks to little
Oh, I'm
hula.
sorry. Adam's clarifying that he's a black belt in Taekwondo and not karate. So, or
No,
not Taekwondo. He's a black belt in karate. I'm sorry, and they are different apparently. So
Yes, they're different, cameraman.
I don't know these
Different
things. I'm
discipline.
sorry. I didn't know. Sorry.
Anyway, this is little
Yes.
hula. This is little hula hooligan. Okay, she's
Hula
a hooligan.
hooligan.
Hula, and little hula is begin to give Miss Goo and I some information about
Okay,
certain
about it.
things, right?
Mhm.
So we have traveled now around, and we have begun to see this strange symbol. This
Naturally.
strange. It's everywhere, cameraman. It's all over the blue shine archipelago. It looks to be a piney apple, is what I think it is.
A piney apple.
It is everywhere. So
the dark symbol of the piney apple.
Yeah, so we're trying to figure out what it is, right? And so we came to this clandestine hidden estate out in the boondocks, if you will, of this place, and that it is all locked up, and there are guards and other things. So we have more to report on this over the next few days. But this little hula hooligan I hope people like this, because sometimes
I'm watching Todd's face in the background, and he's like,
and I just think, oh God, this is so stupid, and people don't like. But I think it's kind of fun.
You are fun.
Of course, I am having a hangover right now, so it's
a good thing Todd's on. Because
thank God, Todd.
Todd's on. I know. Thank goodness we have.
No,
Todd.
you should tell Todd why. Thank God, because you weren't prepared, cameraman. So he's
I know.
covering your ass.
Yeah. 100%. So me and Todd set it up. I'll tell the story very quickly before we bring Todd on. We set up about 3 weeks ago that he was going to be on this weekend, but then in my work calendar, I did not have that I was going on vacation, so it seemed like a great idea because I didn't realize this was the week after my vacation, and so I logged on this morning and I have a notification that says Todd on Goo Morning, Zyathé. And I was like, oh my God. And I log on to Facebook because I haven't been logged on. I log on to Facebook and he has a message from Wednesday being like, are we still on for Saturday? And I was like, oh my God. But here's the good thing is that Todd is a pro. He's a pro. He is a pro. And thank goodness, because you're hungover and I'm exhausted from theme parking.
Yeah, so just real quick before we bring Todd on,
yes.
You got to tell everybody you went to Disney, right? You went to Disney, yes.
So we did 3 days in Disney. So we first did a beach day. That was last Saturday. Then we did we had a Universal day, 3 days in Disney, and a Legoland day. And by the time I hit Legoland, I was out. And this is how our conversation topic that's going to happen. Todd's going to stay with us during our conversation topic. He has a lot of great ideas about long rests. This is how the conversation about long rests manifested itself, is that after 5 days in theme parks,
you needed a long rest.
I need a long rest. This is what this weekend is going to be. So anyway, so it's going to be a very interesting conversation. There's a lot of really good thoughts about long rests and how to make them interesting.
So did you grab the one image that I took of you throwing the F-bomb as you went over the falls in the car?
Over the falls?
Did you not? Not the falls when you the
car.
It
was on the radiator. It was on the radiator space. I did not grab the image. No.
Yes, camera Mandy.
I can go find it. I did not almost drop the F-bomb.
Oh yes, look at your face. Everyone knows. And tell that little puppy to be quiet.
I think Adam just got home. Who's a black belt in karate and not taekwondo.
In karate, not taekwondo.
Yes.
Anyway, so yes, it's very clear. You were like, oh. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, it wasn't up. It was up. It was up. Everybody.
I was just enjoying my life so much. I love that ride. So anyway, okay, let's bring Todd on and talk about things people are actually interested in.
Okay.
because I mean this build is quite incredible. So
Yeah, it's great.
Todd,
Hey,
Hello,
good
Todd.
back.
Hello, my
You guys
friend.
both look like you need a long rest.
I know, seriously.
I just need a couple more hours sleep and a couple of aspirin.
Uh-huh. Well, it's where Alphinius is right now. It's what 6:10.
Yeah,
6
it's
in the morning?
6:10. Yeah, 6:10. I got up about 5 after making rather merry with Miss Goo last night. This was a bad move. Todd, it was a bad move. So you heard we went to this banyan tree, right? This marvelous banyan
Yes.
tree. And they make a whole fish yellowtail compache that you can enjoy. And we brought back a bunch of leftovers because there's way too much, but it was wonderful. It was just this wonderful sauce and all of these things that went with it. And yes, you pay the price. Believe me, you pay the price. The most expensive dinner we've had on the island. Yes,
I want you to text me how much it was. I'm really curious, but
listen,
you know,
Mandy,
later.
no, remember, it's just when I text you, just keep in mind it was for 2 people. And we did not do something crazy like champagne, in tall glasses. I mean, it was already had. I think we had a cocktail each and another one. Yeah, so it was a little. Yes, you'll be like, oh my god.
Was it worth it? That's the question. Was it worth it?
We had a wonderful time. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we left the banyan tree and went upstairs, and they were having a show with Jason Arcila. He was on The Voice a couple of years back, and he's doing a lot of music in Hawaii and around the islands, and it was really wonderful. And so we had a few cocktails there as well. So anyway, Todd, you and Mandy got to carry the show.
No, Todd's carrying the show. That's what I told Todd. I said, Todd, you're carrying the show today.
First off, I just want to, it sounds like you made like a DC 12 con check for the alcohol and a DC 20 wallet check for the bill, is what it sounds like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah. You're right, sir. You're absolutely right.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Well, it's great, Todd. It's great to see you, my friend.
It's great to be back on again. Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
Thank you for being so prepared, Todd. So I could just log on this morning and be like, yes, let's do this. So, okay. So this is the build. This is, we have a few images of the build and then we're going to walk through it. So tell us about what you've done with this amazing build.
Super quick, because a lot of people will be familiar with this. If anyone's familiar with the video game Skyrim, which literally 60 million plus people have purchased and played that game. So it's not a small game. In that game, there's a group of they're called the Dwemer, which were basically dwarves that lived underground, and they had this advanced technology. But in that game, they'd long since disappeared. So it's an abandoned city of technology, and then it's overrun with what they call the Falmer, which are basically degenerate elves, for lack of a better term, elves who have gone blind from being underground, but they go by sound alone, and they've lost their own culture and they've generated their own culture, their old culture, and generated their own culture. And so the players, when they go exploring it, it's basically this ongoing battle between the Falmer, who have kind of like crept in and taken over the abandoned cities, and the Centurions, which are the automations, the steam-powered automations that are left over, still doing the tasks that they were left doing hundreds of years ago when the Dwemer mysteriously disappeared. So, and if you want to put it in D&D terms, it's basically the dwarves built an advanced civilization. They were in a battle with the elves, and finally their numbers were dwindling enough that they left to go someplace else. And the elves remained and are trying to finish off so that they can capture this area, make sure that the dwarves never come back. And the players are basically going into that location, to that kind of thing. So you have these advanced things. So I found this company that printed up these great buildings, these 3D printed buildings that have a very Dwemer look to them. Anyone who's played Skyrim, this will look somewhat, obviously it's not perfect, but somewhat similar to it. And that's an overview. You can see in the upper right-hand corner the large staircase that's going down to show you that you're going into the caverns themselves where the Dwemers are at, right? And then it's not rooms, it's entire buildings. It's an entire city that's underground, kind of like the Mesnabarian or whatever it is for the Dark Elves in Forgotten Realms, except it's a dwarven version of that. So, and then of course it's me, so I wanted to make sure that I had it multi-leveled, so there was different levels of elevations all the way around. So you can just see some of the cities, and you can see also, real quick, go back real quick, please.
Sorry. Yep.
Thank you. So you can see, as I go to point to my screen that nobody can see, you can see the black, you can see the black cover. That's my fog of war. That's when the players go in the buildings, I can pull that off, and then they can discover what's in those rooms. So the outside, so to speak, they can sort of see a little bit as to where the buildings and stuff are, but it's not until they get in the rooms that they can actually get a close-up view of, oh, okay, that's what this room is used for.
No, I love that.
So basically, Todd, the players are coming down the staircase, right? And they get
Correct.
this reveal. They get this reveal of the city. Is basically the idea.
Correct.
It's wonderful.
Correct.
So
and the
good.
idea behind why they can see it, because it's all dark in there, is that most of the doors and stuff are open, and the Dwemer technology is still working, so the lights are still on. So because the lights are shining out of that, you kind of get an outline of the city itself from the lights of that. But obviously you can't see into the rooms until you get close enough to get in there. So that's kind of the logic behind why it's set up that way. And then there you can see, once I've removed all of it, that's an example of what the board looked like once they'd been through all of the rooms and they'd seen everything. So you can see I put types of brass-like technology for, think basically steampunk, for lack of a better word, inside of it, powering the technology of what they were doing. And that also gives you, from this angle down a little more, you kind of get a little bit better idea of what the what the scale of it is. If you look at the very center building that's got that, it's almost got like a light showing in the middle there, the center building, you can see a mini that's standing up. Yeah, that's it right there. You can see a traditional mini standing up in the center. That'll give you an idea of scale, how high up and everything that is.
No, I like the idea, because
Wow.
when you first walk into something like this, you would be able to look around. You would be able to see all the things. And then I like the fact that you hid the rooms for some actual discovery. So you're both discovering this huge, massive scale city, and then also. Yeah,
the idea is like you see the wonder for the first time, and then it makes you want to explore it. Right. And there's inherent dangers built in. You can look at the staircase. You can see there are sections of it broken off. I kind of took from not Mordor. I'm trying to think of it.
Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings.
Whatever the dwarven city was, and it's escaping me right now. But I'm sure everybody will know. But that city, what they went into it, and remember the stairs were broken off, and they had to jump across. So I tried to replicate that experience. Yes, Mines of Moria. Thank you, Smoked Gouda, or good. Mines of
Gouda.
Moria.
It's a cheese, Todd. Gouda. It's a cheese, Todd.
Gouda. Sorry, my bad. So, I'm lactose intolerant, so that's.
Excuse me.
I can't. Now I got to make a con check, but as long as I'm
So before you go, yeah, Todd insults the cheese. Oh, so
it's better than cutting the cheese, but go ahead.
Only when you're in studio. And when you're there by yourself, you would just let her rip.
Oh my gosh.
So Todd, how long? Obviously, did you paint all these yourself? Did you have some paint of some of it's Dwarven Forge? I can see that some of it's materials.
Right, some of it's Dwarven Forge, and then I have a guy who paints 40K armies, so I pay him to do that because I painted my first 700 minis, and my eyes kind of gave out, and I was like, you know what? He's willing to do it cheap enough. He does a great enough job. So, and it works for him because he gets work. People see the work that he does, ask me who paints it, I refer it, and so he gets additional commissions out of it. So it's kind of a functional two-way street there. And he does a beautiful job. I was like, I need you to paint this so that it all works together, so that it's all cohesive, and I could use it in a variety of settings. So the stones for the stairways is very similar to the stones and whatnot that are used in the Dwemer city itself, just enough to try and keep it all cohesive.
Yeah, no, it looks spectacular. All right.
Thank you. So this is just to prove. I actually have people that say you don't actually play any of these games, right? They think I just build the table. So every now and then I got to include pictures of my friends when we're actually playing the game. As they're exploring and going down, you can just see just to the right on the lower right-hand side, that's my GM screen for Shadow Dark. That's where I sit. And then my friends sit around the table. You can see a portion of the rooms have been discovered already. Two of them, the thing is off, and then the rest of them they haven't been through yet. and they're working their way down through the city. So that's just a picture of basically what the game looks like. They're smiling because they probably pulled something over on me on that moment. That's usually how that works.
Yeah, look, they are all laughing right now. It does not appear like
yes.
it. Yes, but it does not appear that they're actually posing for the camera. So
no, these are all live in game as it's going. We're nobody there's a model, that's for sure. Definitely not me.
You know what they say, Todd. They in the advertising business, which is my secret day job, right? That nobody knows about. In the advertising business, they say you have a face for radio
and a voice for print.
That's right.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's not good.
No, it's not good, but you make it work anyway. So that's
you
that's
do.
Good. This lower angle gives you yet another idea of the scale of this particular build and the verticality of it. You can see that there's little bridges between the buildings to go across, which creates wallless choke points where you're on the bridge, and it's not that there's a wall on either side of you, it's that there's air that you just fall off the edge and you suffer either the damage from the fall and or whatever's on the ground roaming around in the city streets there along with it. It's not just the fall, it's whatever's on that level below that you haven't explored that could be waiting for you, plus you're now separated from the party. So it adds a multi-element to it. And I can see, you can see just from your torchlight down below there, you can just barely see there's like a little structure below the bridge towards the center. But it's not of Dwarven or Dwemer build. It's of the Falmer build where they've built their own huts and stuff there as they're slowly kind of taking over areas. So it's like an incentive to be exceptionally careful. And then it becomes, well, do I dash across there and I have to make a dex check in order to be able to get to my friend on the other side who's being attacked by the Falmer? Or do I move slowly without having to make the check? And so I'm definitely not going to fall, but I may or may not get to my friend in time. Those are things that you get like strategy decisions that can be by using the terrain to create those kind of choke points and stuff.
Yeah, it's great, and of course, there's
this is my favorite picture of Todd ever, by the way.
Right. You can get that mini from WizKids. It's the big bald mini. It's $19.95. It's very rare. And it comes very specifically with the "what the am I doing" look on its face.
No, this looks like a dangerous GM. I don't think it's So we're gonna break down this build. We're gonna show a really cool video that Todd took, and we're gonna walk through this build and what the adventure looks like. So, you ready, Todd?
Sure. This is a short, I think it's like 2 minutes or something like that. It's very short build. It's just a quick pan down overview of so you can see it live instead of from the still pictures. So this is the staircase. You can see from the upper right, this is where they come down. There's multiple paths that they can go down. Here I have a mechanical owl bear. Try and find those.
That's very cool.
Right. So it's not just an owl bear, but it's a mechanical owl bear that gives you. So that's their first hint up front. We're not in Kansas anymore. Okay, and then down here we've got a driller device that the Dwemer had that's gone amok. When they go down, they have to battle against that. And then this room here, pause this for just a second if you could, please.
Yep.
So this room right here here's a chance for them to interact with Dwemer technology. So what I did was I took the concept of an MRI. Okay, that's what that table is on the other side, so to speak. The Dwemer healing technology, instead of being magic, they have their own like steampunk technology. That lever, when the players would go in, somebody would lay down on it. They saw that there were no straps, so it was not a torture device. It was some kind of a healing thing, right? So somebody would lay down on it, they would pull the lever, and they would be irradiated, and I had a random table that would give them some kind of a random effect or power until they use their next long rest. That's a true story. So it's like borrowed power. It's not permanent, but it's a reason to keep adventuring on the current rest, because as soon as you take a long rest, then that power goes away. It fades when you have that 8-hour rest. So they might get an extra bonus to their hit points, or they might get a bonus to their armor class or to the damage they do or something like that. But if they leave the doors open, which they did the first time, everybody else gets the backlash radiation. They have to make a con check or they suffer radiation sickness. Right? So it's a room that you're not dealing with a monster, but you're exploring and you're learning about the technology that they had. And then they found notes about how this is how they would heal their troops when they were in battle against the Falmer, against the elves, to try and keep going all these long centuries that the war was going on. So that's what that room is, real quick. Just an exploratory type room where they have a chance to interact.
So
really good. Does anybody get to grow a third eye, or anything like sort of gamma worldy kind of thing, or just?
I didn't write in that one, but you certainly could have. Yeah, you certainly could have.
So I know this was built for like a Skyrim type thing, but a lot of people are saying that this would actually be really good for Shadowdark.
It is. I play Shadowdark. That's exactly what I play. I just adapted the themes from Shadowdark into that particular game session. But I'm a huge Shadowdark fan. I'm a huge Shadowdark fan.
Oh, you're actually wearing a Shadowdark. Sure. Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's keep going. So and that one over there is just, you don't have to stop for it, but that one was where they could mix concoctions
Stop right
together.
there, cameraman. You stop right there.
Okay.
Look at that. That is magnificent. Plus, they are on the bridge, which is a perfect opportunity for a flying attack.
Absolutely. So it's a flying attack. There's natural bottlenecks. You can see one of the Falmer or the degenerate elves that's crunched over. I used ghouls, ghoul minis for the stand-ins for that, because they look very similar to what they do in the video game. So I used them for that. Coming out of the doorway. And you can see I have two different light sources. I have the light source on the left, for the guy with the red cape, is the one I use for a torch. And then the light source on the right, the one that's the blue light, it's when a mage or a cleric has cast a light spell, just so they can differentiate between the two of them. I got those lantern stands from McCready's or something like that. I can't think of the name, but I'll post it in the comments later, or I'll put it on the video or something. Something McCready's.
Yeah, we should post this. Put this in the Facebook group. This should go.
Yeah, but they make all kinds of LED stuff. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
So.
And then J. Ricky says the steam just needs a ball rug.
That's true.
You
shall not pass.
So obviously they did some combat there before they could enter into that room, kind of a thing.
Yeah. So I love the perspective of the scale on this thing. Like,
yeah, you get a really good scale perspective, and then you get the idea that there's multiple levels. There's the whole ground level to go through, and then there's all the upper levels. And if they explore the ground level first, the Falmer might attack from bows and arrows from up above at advantage. And if they go to the top one, they have the possibility of potentially dropping off. So as a game master, I can play it either way. They're open to explore it how they want to, but I've got stuff that's ready.
Did you pre-plan all these encounters?
Yes. Yeah, I got it. So these are like big spider-like creatures. Those are two there. If you play Skyrim, there's these giant like spider-like creatures that walk around that are kind of like guards that they have. So I put a couple of those mecha spiders in there for them. And then you can see on the right, there's like that little blue cylinder. Mm-hmm. And I use those as like power packs. And the Dwemer had a tech, instead of using torches, because they didn't really have trees down there. And instead of using the light spell, they used their steampunk technology, and they had those power packs that they recharge, and they would put inside of basically a stick that created a glow stick for their own torches, so that there were different types of torches that the players could pick up. And they were like, oh, I'm like, it's like a glow stick. So if you drop it, it's not going to go out unlike a torch might, or even if you put it, like if it fell underwater, it probably won't go out. So they saved those. And if they go into a future adventure where they're underwater, now instead of relying purely on a light spell, they've got these Dwemer electro torches that they can use those as light sources to go. And that's how some of the stuff carries over from one adventure to another.
So this is a really great example of color theory, and how, so like all of the rest of the stuff in this room is muted or gold, and except for these like bright blue
power sources.
Glow sticks. Yes, exactly. And I think that this is a really effective example of what makes, I think, this build so spectacular is the use of color, is the use of the gold. And then anything that's important can be highlighted with a specific, like more brighter color. Anything that's maybe not might be more muted. And I think that you did a really great job of using the gold to just enhance the build and just make it truly spectacular.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The next one
nice because It's nice because you get these wonderful tube devices and other things like that take what is the traditional Dwarven Forge dungeon tiles, right, and really gives them a different feeling, even though there's not a whole lot of it in every room. But it really just, again, it's the touch that makes it fantastic.
Yeah, it's the accent pieces that define the purpose that gives the player's perspective of what the room was used for. Kind of a thing. And then when you're in something of a new technology like this, like everybody understands the lever on the table is obviously there to be pulled, but what does it do? So that's the exploration part. And that's the funny part. So they only had one fighter in the group, and the fighter got a phone call. Steven got a phone call just before they got to this room, and he had to leave. Okay, he had to leave because his daughter was sick and she was asking for him, so he had to go.
No.
So the player's like, oh my God, we've got to finish off with the fighter. True story. I did not plan this. That stand-up mini that you see right next to it with the lever is basically, I put that in there as like an Iron Man suit. And so the one of the players who was a bard ended up getting inside the suit. It closed up, and they had flamethrowers, and they got to play like Tony Stark, Iron Man inside of the suit. And we had a replacement fighter for the one that just left. And like, you couldn't plan that in any universe. You couldn't plan that. But and obviously they had a blast. And if you let it pan for just a second more, you could see that what he ended up having to fight was, it'll turn around in just a second here. You see more of those tubes. That guy right there was the Centurion type thing. He's an automation from the Dwemer that come out and decides to attack because it's just defending.
What level are these characters?
Can you go back to that camera, Mandy?
Level 12?
No, 5th. They were 5th level when we did this.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, so Shadow Dark has a much compressed. There's not 20 levels. There's only 10.
Oh, I see.
So 5th level in Shadow Dark, because in 5th edition, it gets harder and harder to keep the players challenged when you start getting to level 15, 16, 17. Shadow Dark just kind of cuts it off in 10, and then you can sort of play indefinitely from there. So you're still getting like 5th level spells and stuff, and you're powerful, but you're not godlike. You'll probably never get godlike in that particular game system. But so the players all had this big arena-like area to fight. There were power packs, and that they could use for powering the Iron Man suit to keep it going, because the suit used 10% every round. It wasn't designed for long-term use, so 10% of the power. But if they used the flamethrower, which guaranteed did damage, it used 20%. So they had to strategically choose, and then they had to try and replace the power back in the middle of combat while they were doing stuff to keep the suit going, right? So it's trying to just add other mechanics into the experience, and you could see the level of the light of the power pack dropping by a percentage. You go, oh, okay, this is a thing. So it gave them an idea of, oh, okay, this is how we use this in order to keep fighting. So, and of course, the suit took a beating, but it did work. And then this area over here is basically their generators. This is where they generate all the electricity in order to rejuice up the power packs and stuff, and to turn the lights on in all the buildings and all that kind of stuff. You can see the upper left quadrant. It looks like it's one of the generators has been destroyed. You see how it's all kind of messed up? That one right there has been destroyed. Yes. Whereas the one farther up, it's all still intact.
So what was Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say, and then there's also little robots, automations that are going around that are repairing it. But because they've been repairing the stuff for centuries, the challenge is that when the Falmer come in and destroy stuff, they've learned that they've turned to become, now they're also defensive guards. So that big hammer and that big screw become a weapon that they start using against the players because they see them as invaders. Mm-hmm. So it's a different type of a fight that you have to endure. I'm sorry, you had a question.
Yeah. So what was the mission of this?
So this was pure exploration, in that the level above this was an area held completely by the Falmer. Kind of like there's the surface world, and then the first level where the elves came down, they'd conquered that part, and the elves had like an elven colony there, but they'd been, to shorten it a bit, they'd been closed off and so, from being able to go back up, and so they degenerated over the centuries. And so there was still this ongoing war between the first level of the Falmer and this second level of the Dwemer down here. The players managed to clear out the Falmer, and they'd opened up the door gates that allowed them to go down and find out who they were fighting, because the Falmer had called them the soulless ones. And it turns out they weren't soulless because they were demons. They were soulless because they were automations. which is almost the antithesis of what the elves stand for, right? They're all for life and for beauty and for natural. And this is a diametrically opposed society based on metal and automation and technology. So these two cultures were clashing against one another, and both felt they were an existential threat to one another. The battle had played out long ago. This is like simmering battles that were still, I should say the war had played out long ago. These are simmering battles were left, and the players came out and basically were mopping up what was left.
Okay.
And then that portal right there, which is now dead, that was the portal that the Dwemer finally said, we can't replace our numbers fast enough, and they decided to go through it to go someplace else, but they left their technology here to defend itself, hoping that would basically kill off as many of the Falmer as it could before they ever decided to come back once they'd reconstituted their numbers. So you never see any of the dwarves in here, but you see the advanced technology that particular civilization had before it left.
Okay. Wow. You put so much thought into this, Todd.
I try to put
it's
as much
amazing.
thought into the game adventure and the NPCs as I do into the build. Because it's not, you don't want it to be one dimensional, right? If the movie's all special effects and no plot, it's not very fun and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to have it all. So, and that just, because that's for my Facebook group. So, but, but that's it.
Creative adventure tables. Let's promote the heck out of that. So if you're not already, go to Creative Adventure Tables on Facebook. And I mean, there's builds like this from all over the world, and it's spectacular. So
really, really unbelievable, and well done bringing the Skyrim theme in, Todd. I mean, really nice work. I mean, I
appreciate
just
that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, and of course, it does make for a fun adventure, to have these various technical devices, right? Being able to pull levers and push buttons and do all that kind of stuff, right? And see what happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they had different alchemy that they could use that would enhance their armor and stuff, because the dwarves were doing alchemical things. So there's ways that they could improve the quality of their swords or their armor, but they only had so much of it. There was only so much left after all the centuries. So I think they could make like two things, and they had to make some checks to see by intelligence and dexterity that they mixed it properly. And then I rolled on a random table to see what was, and then their sword was plus against a certain thing, or their armor had an extra bonus against fire or whatever it was. So there was just these ways of interacting with the environment that had some random chances, and they had to decide, is it worth the risk, or is this going to blow up, as an alchemy fire right there with at 0.0 of them in the center of it. If they
that as we dance this marvelous game, right, that we play, right, there's a lot of things we probably wouldn't do in real life, right? That we do because there's less consequences.
Right. We can.
Go ahead,
I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but it takes pretty much everything out of us to drink at expensive bars, apparently. So the idea of exploring an alien world might be beyond us.
This is a great transition into our topic, though.
Yes.
Today, our topic of discussion, which is going to be long rests. And actually, Todd, you brought up a really interesting mechanic for long rests in the build that you did here with the was it the lever, the pulling the lever?
Sure.
Well, that was an addition, right? It was an addition.
That was an addition, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about how to make long rests interesting and engage your players with them, especially in campaigns where you want to do resource management.
So Camera Mandy, this is very important, right? Because I hate resting. This. This has been this is a staple of my my game master belief set, and I'm grouchy because I have a hangover. So I'm gonna be all over this crap this morning, right?
Leo says, "Hey guys," and Mandy looking.
Hi, Leo.
And Leo, we appreciate you.
Leo's been putting up some great posts himself.
I know.
On Facebook.
Alphinius is hung over. I'm all puffy from vacation, and Todd does look great. So, thank you. Okay. So,
all right. So am I preambling?
I'm bright and shiny whether I want to be. So it's
all right. So here's
choice.
the deal. The game at its core is all about resource depletion. The game at its core is all about resource depletion. And it was my biggest complaint about 5e was the short rest, right? It was my biggest complaint. They should not have included it in my heart of hearts. I think they should have dumped it, right? And from the beginning. And
I think the argument, though, is that at the core, I mean, I agree that the actual game part of that is resource, but then there's the RPG side of it. And if you're just playing for the RPG, then taking a short rest and moving on. But I agree with you. I think it depends on the.
You can take a rest all you want, but they kept getting you. I mean, it just. Now listen. There's two things. First and foremost,
yes.
you want the challenge and the intensity of the resource being depleted. You want that. If you make that too easy, the game becomes pretty vanilla and I think frankly boring. Right.
Correct.
I actually agree with this. Yes.
All right. So that is my that's why we did the Gooey short rest. That's why we did some of the things that we did in our materials to try to augment this in what we believe was a better fashion. So anyway, I'll be quiet, but I just wanted to establish that because for me, fight a monster, have a short rest. Fight a monster, have a short rest. Fight a monster, have a short rest. Fight a monster, have a short rest.
I think this is why Shadow Dark has become such a staple. I honestly think this is why Shadow Dark has succeeded the way that it has.
Yes.
So if I could throw something,
go Todd, go.
Way back in the day, in first edition and earlier editions of D&D, they didn't have long rests and short rests. They used to play the games in real time, and for every physical, actual, real world day, your character gained 1 hit point back. Kind of a thing is what they would do. So even the idea of a long rest that just got all your hit points back is a huge concession over for gameplay over what it used to be as far as the hardcore trying to make it, right? And then the addition of the short rest, basically they said, okay, you've got spell slots that are never going to fail. And then you can when you say you're going to cast a spell, you're absolutely always going to get the healing spell to go off, right? There's never a chance that it won't. And then the potions are going to heal so much. And then you've got your short rests for healing. And then you've got your long rests for healing. And all the players have to say is there's nothing around me that's immediately attacking me. So we decide we're going to take a long rest. And it's sort of a get out of jail free card for the players to replenish all of their resources before they're overly taxed. And I understand completely from the player's point of view that strategically that makes sense to do that. You use up all your resources and then you rest and then you go back out and you do it again. The problem is, as Alphinius has pointed out and as many game masters have figured out, it takes away from the challenge that basically the players steamroll every room because it comes, go to this room, blow all of your powers at once, and then take a rest. And then go into the next room, blow all your powers, and take a rest. It becomes very hard to become challenging to the players. And the problem is if there's no challenge to the players, the feeling of victory is now empty because you never worked for it.
Yes.
So,
and
I'm
I don't
say something.
can I do this? Just I want to do this because I saw your comments that you put up with Harry. The last comment you put up from Haunted Wolf was great. But here's the deal. This is always about style. It's always about what you prefer, right? And so in the end, it's what you enjoy as the game master and what your players enjoy at the table, right? And
absolutely.
for me, there's not necessarily a right or wrong. This is, just an opinion. And, Harry, I love you dearly and think the world of you, and you're a great game master.
Well, I want Harry to be putting comments in the chat this is the whole thing about the discussion element of this is that, there's 3 of us on camera right now talking, but the chat may have a totally different perspective. And I definitely want to make sure that we're getting that perspective across about within the rules of 5e, how do you challenge your players, Harry? How do you make it interesting with the way that they can replenish spells with short rest and long rest?
Yes. So do that, Harry, when you want to put it in there. So for me, Haunted Wolf put up a comment about clerics having no meaning. And I think that is a problem also with short rests, is that you really have taken away a very what was a pivotal class in the game. Now, I will also say that this is very clear if you read sort of about the game and you read about how things built and all that stuff. And I agree with you, Harry. It's not a full restoration. But it does diminish the role of clerics, which already were not the most popular class to play. And so I think that is part of the reason why it actually happened, is because people didn't like to play clerics. And so I'm not saying necessarily that it's bad. I augmented at my table very much to make it to make the ticking clock, right? Which is the diminishment of your resources, the diminishment of your spells, the diminishment of your hit points, right? Especially if you're in a place where you can't escape, right? And that is what adds this element of, oh my gosh, right? And are we going to make it, right? And so that's what I feel. But again, I don't want to throw shade on anyone's play style ever, because this game is all about how you want to play. Anyway, go ahead, Todd. Mandy,
I want to
you were going to say something.
ask this one question. I want to answer this one question. Where can I find the Gooey Short Rest book? Leo, in our Gooey philosophy, which is free on the website, and I know you've also bought everything from us, so it's in the Darkest Dream. You will find our house rules for how to do short and long rests for our Gooey adventures.
Yes. So anyway, Mandy, you should represent Harry. You can be.
Well, I'm going to represent the chat. So Rick says, so with short rest, they don't regain spell slots unless they are sorcerers and burn sorcery points. Also, during a short rest, you get your HP? Or HD? What's HD?
Hit dice.
Hit dice. Oh, thank you. Sorry. Yeah. Tired. Long vacation to burn over a day for multiple short rests. Then you have to take a long rest for spell regeneration and for hit dice for short rest. I'm going to tell you guys something. I'm going to be honest with you. I have not used hit dice in a campaign in about 3 years. Like, I've never had to use them because we do take short and long rests to recover what we need. So it's been a long time since I've had to throw some hit dice. And I don't know if that's the case for all the players in the chat. It's just been, for me personally, it's been a long time.
So that statement that they don't regain spell slots is true, except for warlocks. Warlocks only get 2 spell slots, and on a short rest, they regain them both. And if you pull, and here's part of the challenge with 5e, is if you pull short rests out completely, you nerf warlocks into the ground.
Correct.
So it's real dicey. What I did in mine before I switched over to Shadow Dark, what I did in my campaign was, if you're playing XP based, okay, if you're playing milestone based, this doesn't help as much. But if you're playing XP based, everybody wants to maximize the utilization of their resources, blow them, and then take the long rest and get them all back and go again. So what I would do is, you get 1 long rest and there's no change to your XP. If you take more than 1 long rest, in other words, you want to stay in your comfort zone. If you're not extending yourself, if you're not going outside of your comfort zone, you're not going to learn as fast. You learn by going outside of your comfort zone and trying to make things happen when you're not at your absolute best. And so there'd be a percentage hit to your XP gain the more rests that you took. By the same token, if you choose not to take any rest, you got a bonus to your XP. So it went both ways. And what that did is it put it back in the hands of the players of, how comfortable do you feel and how fast do you want to advance your character? It puts the tension in their hands for the rate that they want to advance. And the game master that way basically just plays it the way that the way the players feel most comfortable.
Right.
Yes.
So,
go
I was
ahead,
just going to read the comments.
Yeah, do it.
I have lots of comments. Sorry. Even if you let players take short rests, they eventually run out of hit dice, and then the effect of short rests are also minimized. Also, I allow them to use survival to find herbs and mushrooms to help with healing and poultices. I'm learning all sorts of. I've never heard that word before.
A poultice is the thing you put on a wound to help heal it.
I've learned something new. Using medicine rolls once you get them. Harry, long rests give you all your HP, but not all of your hit dice, and it's only once every 24 hours.
Correct.
You can make it challenging with time limits. And I do think this is a really important point as a game master. If you do want to add this challenge in, is giving them a time period to work within. And like if you're in a dungeon, like I do think that you might not get a long rest. There might not be a place for you to spend the night, and take a long rest.
Well, and back in the day, right, as Todd was talking about, you take a long rest, which is basically taking a nap, right? But or sleeping for the night or whatever you want to call it, right? But if you think about it in real, you're trying to make it more realistic and more immersive as much as you can, right? The gash that you have on your leg from the monster's claw is not going to heal because you slept for 8 hours. It's not, right? And for me, I felt like it was better to encourage because a cleric can actually be a wonderful class to play, and there are people who love playing clerics, and I know people that I've played with who were very frustrated over the fact that they felt like they were diminished in terms of their value to the party and all of that stuff because of the new strategy of long resting. And I don't disagree at all with any of these points that are being made. These are absolutely true. But for me, I prefer to have a little more, right, a little more bite your nail kind of thing going on in terms of not being able to utilize this short rest thing whenever you want to and all of that stuff. Go ahead and read this, Kimberly.
I found when I ran at 5e with the adventuring day in mind, it actually kind of worked. It's just that the adventuring day is really restrictive in how you might structure an adventure. Now, interestingly, when we first published The Darkest Dream, it all took place in one day. That entire giant box set took place in one day. And I believe you have altered it to be 2 or 3 days at the Game Master's discretion due to 5th edition's rules about long and short resting. When we play tested The Darkest Dream, Adam was playing a bard, and he was able, and we were level 1, so he was able, I think, to cast like 2 or 3 spells the entire adventure. And that's very frustrating as a bard when you're playing over the course of several weeks to only be able, you have to really hold on to those spell slots, and that's where the
that was actually, it was a mistake to have it be a single day. It was a mistake. So and we're fixing that. We already have fixed it, but we are fixing it more as we go forward in the future. It's a better 2 or 3 day adventure anyway. And
you feel like you can explore more because it is exploration. It is like talking with, and even though you've known all of these people like in character, you've known them your whole life or a good portion of your life. As someone who's coming into the game, you're just meeting them for the first time. So it's kind of that balance. Anyway, so I'm sorry, I'm a little bit sick. Excuse me.
Camera Mendy throwing F-bombs, puffy eyes. This is not a good circumstance. And I am the one with that, and I am the one with the hangover.
Camera Mandy, you need to rename this one from Terrain Talks with Todd to just Sick, Drunk, and Bald. Okay.
You are very creative in a lot of fashion, Mr. Todd. That's funny. That was very funny.
That'll get a lot of views on the replay. Okay. Harry says, I think the 5e rules are very clean, but anyone who knows me knows that I prefer Savage World.
Yes. Hey, Harry, you know what? Because I've only played Savage World a couple times. How do they handle resting? Anybody in the comments want to do that? Or maybe you know, Todd. I don't know.
I have so many comments I haven't even gotten
into yet. I have not played Savage World, so yeah.
Well, throw up a few, camera Mendy, before we talk about Savage Worlds. Let's not depart from our conversation.
Okay.
And yes, long rest can absolutely be interrupted, and that's. But again, that feels kind of contrived to me, right? If you're trying to blow up their long rests all the time, because this is a matter of style. Keep going, Kimberly.
Well, I think that if you set up the scenario correctly, you're going into a dungeon. This is a very, rumor has it, this is an incredibly dangerous dungeon. You're going to need to save your resources. Then if they try and pull a long rest after you've already kind of given them, rumors or something like that about this dungeon, then I think it's very fair to, say, no, you have to keep going.
Yeah, so, while you grab another comment, if you think about Todd's Skyrim inspired dungeon right there, walking into that city, that's going to be a tough place to get a rest. It's going to be tough.
Correct.
All right, read this one, Camera Mendy.
While the party rests, the enemies move and prepare. Is time important? Yes. How can the encounters improve during this time, knowing the party is coming? Hide treasure, set traps and barriers, ambush at choke.
Absolutely, agree 100%. Agree 100%.
Can I say something about this? And then I want you to respond to this, Todd, because I'm just going to say something real quick. I absolutely love the evolution of the environment as the party interacts with it. So respond to that, Todd, because I think what Chris Gragnick said here is fantastic.
I absolutely I support that 100%. So if there's combat and stuff and the monsters run away, some of the monsters run away, right? They see the leader get killed, or they see several of them get killed, and they're like, we're not winning this, and they run away and escape. They're definitely going to tell their buddies about what's coming down the road, and they're going to do everything they can. They're going to have somebody, they've got a magic user, they've got a cleric, and depending on the intelligence of the monsters, they're going to pick their targets of who they're going to get rid of first. Man, we almost had the fighter dead, and then the cleric cast some spells and brought them back again. We need to kill the cleric first, if it's average intelligence or above, I would say. And so have the monsters make intelligent responses to their interactions with the players.
I have never, Todd, that is brilliant. I have never once played a campaign where they had on the other side a cleric healing the monsters. Like, I have never once.
Yes.
That is really cool. That's a really cool idea.
Mandy, the evolution of environment is the best. Like even in chapter 6, right? Our party is going to come back to Nevermore. And now I'm going to give away a big spoiler because Constable Rolf is dead. He's been killed. And Butcher Brickenden and all. I know, Mandy, you're playing it, but I gotta. But it's fine. So that happens, and the whole complexion of Nevermore has changed because of what's been going on there. And the party literally has to save the town. It's kind of a Magnificent Seven kind of a feel thing. That's what we think it's going to be.
And one of the evolutions I've done, I haven't done it often, but I've done it a couple of times. It worked great. Sometimes when some of the monsters go back, they all don't decide that, okay, this is how we're going to defeat them. There's one time that I had the monsters say, you know what? I don't think we're going to defeat them. I think we just need to appease them. What if we make them a gold offering just to leave? And then you've created interfactional party issues between the monsters that, no, we must fight and defend our sacred, territories versus, no, I want to live to see another day. And I think if we shove enough gold their way, they'll just leave alone and cut their losses and go. And the players can come upon that conversation or the challenges that arise from that. And it just adds a whole new political dynamic to something that might have started off as hack and slash.
Yeah, now you have a moral dilemma, right? Because these poor monsters are coming up and they're giving you the gold and they're all, being subservient and all of that stuff. And now you're just going to thrash them,
Correct. Anyway, then you have the monsters that are just smart enough to be truly cruel. If you ever want to really piss off your players, you take the kobolds, right? Easy to kill, generally speaking, easy to kill, and crafty, right? So after their frontline defenses are wiped out, they show up and they've got their babies strapped to their chest. And the cleric has to decide whether or not they want to genocide the children. Moral dilemma.
Fireball the baby kobolds. So Mandy, put up some more comments.
We have so many. I know. Here's the deal: is that we have so many comments, and it is 10:57, and Todd can't stay late. So I'm telling Harry, Harry needs to come on the show to talk Savage Worlds.
That would be great.
And Creative Goo, since he's bringing back Creative Goo. Having played 4.5 year-long 5e campaign, long rests and short rests were not really the focus of our attention. The story is still the primary focus and concern.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm saying, the difference between resource depletion versus RPG. It's like, what is your priority? Yes. But I do think resource, if you're playing an RPG campaign, I agree with Alphinius, that it can get a little repetitive. So throwing in some of that stuff at times of like, oh crap, we're in this now, can be a good way to kind of jog it. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I'm tired. You guys. Okay. Pump it up. Yeah. A decision to take a long rest can also always come with consequences. And I like that. And I'm
because you give the monster more time.
Yeah. The DM makes the rest thing have consequences, i.e. time is now a resource. You can take a long rest, but this person you have to rescue either may or may not be where you thought they were anymore, or might now be alive.
Great comment. The evolution of environment changes so many things, and wonderful. It's just wonderful.
Yes. And I have like so many other wonderful comments, but we're like right up on time, and I need to do the giveaway super quickly. So hashtag terrain will enter you in for this week's. We still don't know what we're giving away, but it's going to be something really cool. We have something good going on.
We always give away cool stuff.
Cool stuff.
So it's good,
I know.
Right?
Yeah. So, we'll have Harry on in a couple weeks here to talk about Savage Worlds. We'll figure out a time, because I would love to hear.
I also was talking to Mondo, Armando the Bard. He'd like to come on the stream and come hang out with us a little bit.
Awesome.
Too, so it'd be fun to have him on.
I would love that. Omnitos taking a short taking a rest should always incur risk. Smaller in a designated safe place, but it's a roll of the dice chance for my tables. It also makes it more interesting if you make the party need a rest, then it's a tougher choice. Yeah. So anyways, and I'm so sorry, I'm missing so many great comments. Who's Kim?
There's a lot of and everyone that I've read, they're all valid because it depends on how you want to play the game, without a doubt.
Absolutely.
So,
Mandy, we can let Todd go and go a few more minutes on it if folks are interested and they can stick around for a few minutes and we can let Todd go. So Todd, we don't need to keep you, but if you want to stick around, you can, but we know it's 11 o'clock and you had
unfortunately I would love to stick around, but I have an appointment that I've got a jet for. Well, it's 1 o'clock my time, so I got a jet.
Todd, any final words, go follow Creative Adventure Tables, for the love of goodness, if you're not doing it already. It is an amazing Facebook group.
Thank you. We're closing in. We got almost 49,500. So we're so close to that 50,000 mark. We're going to get there probably in the next month or two, I think. So
that's great.
We'll get there. Thank you guys so much again for having me on. And I understand that you're giving away cobalt babies for the hashtag terrain thing. So that's
your turn now.
To your chest.
F1.
Todd, marvelous, my friend.
Care,
have
guys.
a great
Thanks
day.
for having me on again. Good to see everyone.
Bye.
Okay. Now, this has been a really good discussion. David says we need an alternate run to use the deck playlist for 2D for use with Savage Worlds.
Boy, I love that. I love that idea. I know generally how Savage World mechanics work because I've played it a few times, but I've never game mastered. I've always been a part of it, and so I understand a little bit about game mechanics for it. But I think having Harry on talk about it would be fun. I think people would enjoy that a lot.
Yeah. We did that in Fendelver. The first Goblin hideout, we killed the big bad, negotiated treasure and hostages, and let them pick a new ruler. That's hilarious.
That's great.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I was contemplating whether I needed to spread things out over 3 days. This is talking about Red Star Rising. So
yes.
Ken is about to launch his first Red Star Rising campaign, and he's spreading it out over 2 days. And I like this idea a lot. So basically, he's going to use the nights to have story time and give stories of the troop. And I think that's excellent. Feeding the players information for Red Star Rising, I think, is one of the most important elements of like creating that bond with the Hanatas troop. So when they're first coming in and they're first starting the campaign, it's like almost overwhelming. I say this as a player because this was me 5 years ago when we first were playtesting it. Was like, oh, there's all these NPCs and we're like going to all these different exploratory places, and so definitely feeding things in and making it palatable for the players, I think, creates those connections with the NPCs that are very important, especially when you get to chapter 3.
Yeah, so, and it should have been a 2 or 3 days. That should have been from the beginning. It was a mistake we made.
That's fine. We were new.
So I think it was an idea. It was a thought we had,
Yeah.
And absolutely, Harry, give the bad guys stuff. Let the bad guys have stuff and let them use it. It's just on them so that they can hold it, right? I mean, it always bothered me that sometimes in some of the published adventures I'd read that you'd find, now I totally get it, but you'd find 3 healing potions on some dead person that you killed, and they never drank one the entire time that they were getting killed, right? So yes, I completely agree. What else you got, Cameron Mandy?
Omnitoast, who is Austin, says thank you for the community shout out this week. It brought a tear to my eye.
Now you're gonna have to put that up next week on social media because you did.
I got it
this week.
I'll put it up next week, but I can show it right here. I can do this really quickly. So Austin, let's just talk about Austin super quickly, and then we'll let everyone go. Share screen. Hold on. Let's see here. Here we are. Okay, so here's the deal. Austin. I'm just going to get emotional because Austin is one of those people who has just the most amazing heart and steps up and takes weight off your shoulders, and for no other reason than he's just a good person. And so he's our community member of the week. I put 2 pictures of him. This is him in the chair, one of the first times he came to visit. our old office. And then here he is game mastering. So he started out as a game master for us. He still game masters for us quite often at conventions, but he really stepped into other roles for us. And yeah, he's just a very, I'm just getting all emotional and I'm sorry about it. But
Austin,
yeah.
much love, my friend. You are magnificent.
Yeah.
We appreciate you very, very much.
So,
very, very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at you, camera Mandy. You are getting emotional.
I know. I'm sorry. Austin, just genuinely, like, there are some people who just worm your way into your heart, you know.
Did you say Austin's a worm?
No, just like, okay, like last year, and we put this in the newsletter, last year at Gen Con, we were a mess. We were trying to accomplish something huge and we weren't prepared at all for it. We did the best we could, you know. Anyway, but Austin opened his home to us and his wife, and we were able to like assemble things at his house, like on the fly. And we had our biggest sales ever at the convention. It's really due to Austin's like generosity of spirit. And he's just, also, I'm really tired, guys. It's been a long vacation. So, anyway, sorry. I know it's so long. 5 days at theme parks. Anyway, no. Anyway, all that to say, I love Austin very much, and he's now part of our. He at Gen Con, you'll find him at the booth. Like he comes and he sells for us now. Like he has that kind of charisma, and he loves our materials so much that we've recruited him. He doesn't do game mastering as much for us anymore at Gen Con because he's working the booth with us. And anyway, Mandy needs a vacay from This is why I come back on a Friday so that way I can take the weekend to recover. So,
a vacation
anyway.
from your vacation. It's not unusual.
Yes.
Right,
especially the way that I vacation, which is going hard. Anyway,
yes.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else you wanted to put up? Any more comments? Or are we good?
I think that we can wrap up the.
Did everyone get in their #terrain to win?
Yes. We got all that. So, yeah. So.
Well,
anyway.
I'm going to go take my hangover and take a couple aspirin.
Sounds good.
And I just want to tell you all, thank you for joining us this morning. I'll do my best to keep the little clues running, but we will reprise them as we go on, because I am also trying to give much attention to my dear Ms. Goo as we're out here. So it has been taking away a little bit from my my normal activities on Facebook and other things like that. But now Mandy's back and Lawrence is back, so you'll get all kinds of craziness going on.
Next week. Yeah, next week we'll be all over it. So yeah. Anyway, I had a lot of fun with Lawrence on this vacation. It was a good time. So.
Oh yes.
Anyway.
And the picture was magnificent, and yes, it sure did look like you were about to say the F-bomb. Yes.
I was saying, yeah, I'm having so much fun. So.
All right. Well, may all your adventures be sticky, friends. Thank you very much from the Blue Shine Archipelago. We will keep you posted as we learn more about the hooligans. Yes. About the strange symbol of the piney apple, the Haang Luz thing that is going on, and whatever else. And ultimately, at the end of that, you get a chance to win some stuff. I don't know what the hell it's going to be, cameraman, but we're going to keep going.
I'll figure it out next week. I'm going to go take a nap. I'm going to go take a nap at 11 a.m. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, friends. Thank you.